Hello, everyone, and welcome to the lesson. The subject is corporate governance and ethics. Today, we begin on a new topic. That is the fourth topic: board of directors. The board of directors. This topic is in three broad categories. We have the appointments, governance body roles and responsibilities, and board performance assessment and effectiveness. Those are three broad areas under this topic. The first one is appointments. Under appointments, we are going to study the appointments of directors, the composition and size. Number two, appointment of the chair. Three, appointment of the CEO. Four, appointment of corporate secretary. And lastly, appointment of external auditor. So let's begin by studying the appointment of directors, the composition and size. Appointment of directors. Now, the appointment of directors is a very critical process that significantly impacts the effectiveness and also the direction of a company's board. And the appointment of directors involves a series of steps and considerations in order to ensure that the right individuals are chosen to lead and also to govern the organization. You understand? The appointment of the directors who sit on the board is a critical process that affects the direction and the control of the organization. It affects the effectiveness of the board. And there are various factors or considerations when it comes to appointment that should be taken into account when it comes to appointing these directors. So let us outline some of the key steps involved in the appointment of directors. And one is the identification of needs. The second important step is the formation of a nomination committee. The third step is the candidate sourcing and evaluation. And lastly is the recommendation and approval. So there are key steps involved in the appointment of directors. One is to identify the needs. Identification of the needs of the board. Now, the first step is to identify the specific skills, the specific experiences, the specific expertise that is required on the board to address the company's current and future challenges, and that may include or involve conducting a skills gap analysis. Conduct skills gap analysis. Find out if there are any gaps that ought to be filled through the appointment of directors. Analyze the experiences, the expertise, the knowledge that is required on the board to address the company's current and future challenges, because boards are put in place in order to help the company meet its objectives. We've said that the appointment of the board of directors significantly impacts the effectiveness and the direction of the company's board. And for the goals of the board or the company to be met, then there are certain skills that are required. So before appointing these directors, it's important to conduct a skills gap analysis in order to identify what are the skills, the experience, and the expertise that is required both for the current and future challenges to be addressed by this appointment of directors. Step number one, identification of needs. Then the second step is formation of a nomination committee. Formation of a nomination committee. If the board has no nomination committee, then this committee ought to be formed. There are some boards that will have a standing nomination committee. If one does not exist, then form one. And a nomination committee may comprise of existing board members, which is formed to oversee the appointment process and so on. The committee is responsible for identifying the potential candidates, conducting interviews, recommending the suitable individuals for board membership and so on. So if the board has, say, 20 members, then there ought to be, out of the 20 members, a few that are selected to help in the process of appointment of directors. So after identifying the needs, then form a nomination committee, which will then source for the suitable candidates. After sourcing for suitable candidates, the committee can conduct interviews and also recommendation to the main board on the suitable candidates. Formation of a nomination committee. 3 is what we call candidate sourcing. Candidate sourcing and evaluation. Candidate sourcing and evaluation. Now, the nomination committee utilizes various sources to identify the potential candidates, such as using executive search firms, using professional networks, referrals, and so on. So there ought to be a thorough evaluation process that is conducted, including background checks, interviewing these candidates, and checking the references. All that is done to assess a candidate's qualifications and a candidate's suitability to sit on the board. Candidate sourcing and evaluation. That is a key step in appointment of directors. 4, recommendation and approval. Key step number 4, recommendation and approval. The nomination committee here presents its recommendation to the full board or to shareholders for approval. And the final decision is typically made through a vote, considering the candidate's qualifications, experiences, and alignment with the company's goals. So these are 4 key steps that ought to be taken or followed when appointing directors of a board. Step number 1, identification of needs. Step number 2, formation of a nomination committee. Step number 3, candidate sourcing and evaluation. And step number 4, recommendation and approval. Now, it's important for us to identify some of the factors influencing the appointment of directors. Factors factors influencing the appointment of directors. Now, the first factor is legal and regulatory requirements. Legal and regulatory requirements. Companies must adhere to legal and regulatory frameworks that govern the appointment of directors, and that may include requirements related to independence, requirements related to diversity, and also requirements related to qualifications. In some instances or in some jurisdictions, the law dictates on various aspects when it comes to appointment of directors, like diversity, like qualifications. What should be the qualifications of a person who sits on a board of directors? So when appointing uh, directors, these are some of the factors that ought to be considered by the nomination committee: legal and regulatory requirements. 2, companies' governance structure. The company's governance structure also influences the appointment of directors. The structure, by the structure, we are referring to what is outlined, for example, in the articles of association, what is outlined in the bylaws of the company. This will likewise dictate the process of appointment of directors and the role of shareholders in such a decision-making process. So when appointing board of directors, it's important to check the company's governance structure as outlined in the articles of association, as well as the bylaws of the company. 3, diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion is yet another factor. Increasingly, companies are prioritizing diversity and inclusion in their board appointments, and that involves seeking candidates with diverse backgrounds, including gender, ethnicity, age, experience. All that is to bring different perspectives to the board. Diversity and inclusion. 4, skills and expertise. Skills and expertise. The company's specific needs and strategic goals will determine the desired skills and the desired expertise of the board members. You understand? And that may include financial acumen, legal knowledge, industry experience, and specific functional expertise. So these are 4 key factors influencing appointment of directors. 1, legal and regulatory requirements. 2, company's governance structure. 3, diversity and inclusion. And 4, skills and expertise. Now let us move on to study the second aspect of this lesson. The first one, remember, is appointment of directors. The second aspect is board composition. Board composition. Now, board composition, or the composition of a board of directors, refers to the mix of individuals who serve on the board. It refers to the mix of individuals who serve on a board and the various characteristics they bring to the table. So board composition refers to the various characteristics that the members bring to the table, as well as the mix of individuals who sit on the board. And a well-composed board is crucial for effective governance, ensuring diverse perspectives and also driving the organization's agenda and success. So what are the elements of board composition? Key elements. Key elements of board composition. Number one is skills and expertise. Skills and expertise. Don't forget that board composition, we have said, refers to the mix of individuals who serve on the board and the various characteristics they bring to the table. Mix and characteristics. So the first element here is skills and expertise. A well-rounded board should possess a diverse range of skills and expertise relevant to the company's industry, relevant to the company's operations, and strategic goals. And that may include financial acumen, legal knowledge, marketing expertise, operational experience, technological understanding, industry-specific knowledge, and so on. Skills and expertise. That's the first element. The second element is diversity. Composition refers to mix of individuals and characteristics. So the second element is diversity. And diversity in the boardroom encompasses various aspects, including gender, a balanced representation. This is a balanced representation of both men and women, which fosters diverse viewpoints and also avoids groupthink. Another aspect of diversity is ethnicity. Ethnicity and race. Ethnicity and race. This is representation from different ethnic and racial backgrounds, which brings unique cultural perspectives and insights. There is also diversity in age. Age. This is a mix of experienced senior directors and young members with fresh ideas, which can create a dynamic and forward-thinking board. All right. Then we may also have professional background, diversity in professional backgrounds. Diversity in professional backgrounds. Now, directors from diverse professional backgrounds, such as finance, such as law, technology, the academia, can contribute different sets of skills and knowledge to the board. So these are forms of diversity. Then the third element is independence. Independence is a key element of board composition. Independent directors are ones that are not affiliated with the company's management or affiliated with major shareholders, and they ensure objectivity and unbiased decision making. And therefore, when composing a board, there ought to be independent directors on that board, because their independent judgment is crucial for protecting the interests of all stakeholders. 4. Experience and tenure. Experience and tenure. A balanced a balance of experienced directors with the deep understanding of companies' operations, alongside new members with fresh perspectives, can contribute to effective decision making. So when comprising a board, it's important to consider experienced board members and those with fresh ideas. That mix is very important for effective functioning of a board. Another element of a board composition is size. Size. The size of the board should be appropriate for the company's size, for the company's complexity and industry, such that a smaller board of, say, 5 members should be considered more agile and efficient in decision making, while larger boards may be necessary for companies with complex operations and diverse business units. And there are very many benefits of having a well-composed board. There are many benefits that we can cite for having a well-composed board. One benefit is in relation to decision making. It improves decision making. 1. Enhances or improves decision making. Enhances or improves decision making. A diverse and skilled board brings wider range of perspectives, experiences, and expertise, leading to more informed and effective decision making. 2. Enhanced risk management. Enhanced risk management. Diverse viewpoints and diverse skill sets can help identify and mitigate risks more effectively. The third benefit: stronger stakeholder relationships. Stronger stakeholder relationships. A diverse board that reflects the interests of various stakeholders can build trust and foster stronger relationships with employees, customers, investors, the government, the community, and so on. 4. Enhanced reputation. Enhanced reputation. A well-composed board demonstrates commitment to good governance and diversity, which can enhance the company's reputation and also attract top talent. It can attract top talent. That is the fourth benefit. 5. Improved financial performance. Improved financial performance. Studies have shown that there is a correlation between board diversity and improved financial performance. So a well-composed board definitely enhances the financial performance of a company. So that is what we can say about board composition. Now, the last aspect of this lesson is on board size. Board size. Board size. Now, the size of a board of directors is a crucial aspect of composition. It is an aspect of composition. Remember here in point number 5, we identified that the board size is an element of board composition. So here we are saying that board size is a crucial aspect of composition of a board, impacting its effectiveness, impacting its dynamics, and also the decision-making process. So determining the optimal size of the board involves balancing various factors and considerations to ensure effective governance. So what are some of the factors affecting board size? Factors affecting board size. Factors affecting board size. What are some of the factors that affect the size of a board? One is the company size and complexity. The company size and complexity will determine how many board members will sit on the board, will determine the size of the board, such that larger and more complex companies require larger boards to provide adequate oversight and to provide adequate insight or expertise across diverse business areas. And small companies may function effectively with smaller boards, as they may have less complex operations and fewer stakeholders. So it's important to consider the company size and complexity when determining the number of directors to sit on a board. 2, industry and regulatory requirements. Industry and regulatory requirements is a second factor. Certain industries may have regulatory requirements or guidelines regarding minimum or maximum board sizes. Additionally, listing requirements on, say, stock exchanges may also dictate board size for publicly traded companies. 3, board responsibilities and committees. Board responsibilities and committees. Now, the number and scope of board committees can influence the optimal board size. If a company has, say, several committees with distinct responsibilities, then a larger board may be necessary to ensure adequate representation and expertise on each committee. For example, if there are 5 committees, board committees, if a company has 5 board committees, then that company cannot have 5 board members. The company ought to have more board members. So therefore, definitely the committees of the board will determine the size of the board. The responsibilities of the board can also influence the number of board members who sit on the board. So board responsibilities and committees is a factor that affects board size. For board dynamics, board dynamics is a factor, and here we can put it together with efficiency. Board dynamics and board efficiency. Now, larger boards may lead to challenges in achieving consensus and efficient decision making, while smaller boards may lack sufficient diversity for thought and expertise. So, striking the balance between the two is crucial. So, the dynamics and the efficiency of the board will determine how many board members will sit on a board, how many directors will sit on a board. We can then cite number 5, corporate governance best practices. Corporate governance best practices can also be considered when determining the number of directors to sit on a board. Now, while there is no universally agreed upon an optimal board size, corporate governance principles often recommend a range of 5 to 15 directors as a general guideline when it comes to determining the size of a board. So candidates, that is the end of the lesson. In this lesson, we've studied 3 things. One is appointment of directors. In studying the appointment of directors, we have outlined the key steps in the appointment process, starting with identification of needs, formation of a nomination committee, candidate sourcing and evaluation, and recommendation and approval. Then we highlighted the factors influencing appointment of directors. One is legal and regulatory requirements. Number 2, company governance structure. Number 3, diversity and inclusion. And lastly, we have skills and expertise. Skills and expertise. Then the second part of this lesson, we studied the board composition. Board composition. We've outlined 5 key elements of board composition. We've said that board composition refers to the mix of individuals who sit on the board and their characteristics. The first element here is skills and expertise, diversity, independence, experience and tenure, and size. We've gone ahead to identify the benefits of board composition. One is it may improve decision making, enhances risk management, leads to stronger stakeholder relationships, it enhances the reputation of the company, and lastly, improves financial performance. A well-composed board can enjoy these benefits. Then the last aspect of this lesson is the board size. Board size. Board size. We've defined what a board size is and then studied 5 factors affecting board size. One is the company size and complexity. Number 2, industry and regulatory requirements. Number 3, board responsibilities and committees. Number 4, we have board dynamics and efficiency. And lastly, corporate governance based practices. Corporate governance based practices. Corporate governance based practices. Corporate governance based practices. Before we take a short break, I will give you today's assignment on appointment of directors composition, and size. Question 1. What criteria does the board use to determine the appropriate size and composition of its members? Number 2. How does the board ensure diversity in skills, experience, and demographics among its directors? 3. What is the process for nominating and appointing new directors to the board? 4. How often is the composition of the board reviewed, and what factors triggers changes in the board size? What factors triggers change in the board size? These are 4 questions. Please attempt the questions. In our next lesson, we are going to study the appointment of chair. God bless you. Bye.